Welcome to the WorkingAudioTools podcast. This week we have another mix comparison, a mix battle for you, but this is going to be a two-part mix comparison because this week we're going to be discussing the subtle differences between the mixes ourselves, but next week we're going to be getting the artist, the producer, and in his own right, a mix engineer himself, Marv Sowell, who is a listener of the podcast, which is amazing. He's written and produced this track. He's going to come on and give us his perspective as a potential client. We may be doing a mix revision in the meantime. We haven't done that yet, but we will have more information on that. Yeah. So we're going to basically dive into what it's actually like working with clients as well to give you guys a bit more, well, as you all know what it's like working with clients. So we don't need to preach to the choir, but it'll give you an insight into our perspective and workflow and communication. So this is a hip-hop style track. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a pure hip-hop track, so I can hear Tyrone's ears pricking up, thinking, "Oh, I'll be the judge of that, lads." No doubt messaging us straight
I ain't
away.
got crossbone teeth for nothing, son, right?
The master of hip-hop in London himself. But it's so for me, it was interesting because I thought immediately it had live drums, but it turns out it's a programmed loop. It's just, they've used live drum samples, but the programming's been done so well, I thought it was just a very, very good player playing a good drum
really
loop.
tight, yeah.
Now, the decision was made for this mix that we would honour the rough as closely as possible. I've actually done a mix for Marv and worked with him as a client, and Paul's away to do one very soon as well. And Marv did actually get our in-house mastering engineer, Marcel, to master the track, and it came out really well. So I've known from that experience working with Marv, and I said this to Paul, he will want things very, very close to the rough, just, spruced and sprinkled and improved slightly. So that was the brief. So we're going to listen to Marv's rough mix. I say rough, that does it a disservice. Reference mix. Because it is a good mix. And then we'll go through mine or Paul's and mine, and we will compare the subtle nuances between our mixes. So this is Marv's rough mix of My Time.
The hardest artists ever to emerge from darkness. Got them reading they thesaurus cause they vocab is garbage. If they ain't talking about nothing, I'ma rip them apart. And I ain't even gotta rap about the clothes and the cars. Tell me how it feel to look at a star like an astrologist. An ego like I'm T.O. but rock like I'm in politics. Here to change the game similar to what Obama did. Making sure you get no bumps like dermatologists. My name's synonymous with dominance. The problem is my name's anonymous. They look at me like I'm a communist. Till I collapse, I refuse to relax. I do my thing with this rap, run my claps and shoulder pads for real.
Stop me. The clouds are moving. It's my time.
It's my time, y'all. It's my time. Open mic Friday nights, local bars, I was a star. Twisting up cigars before we got out the car. Tipsy off whiskey sours, spitting freeze for hours. Over the instrumentals like they beats was ours. Wasn't lacking ambition, it's the cash that was missing. Then I moved back out to Memphis right when Dash got convicted. That's how quick it get twisted. Dreams diminished in the instant. What once was in your grasp, now distant. Pay attention. Till I collapse, I refuse to relax. I do my thing with this rap with my claps and shoulder pads for real. Yeah, y'all. Where my notoriety, you know what I'm saying? It's my time.
Gonna stop me. The clouds are moving. It's my time. No more clouds in my way. No more haters.
No more haters, y'all.
Gotta make it happen. I can see the light. The break of day. I gotta keep
when I had the LeBaron. Transmission was missing back when I had to tap the starter just to start the ignition. Quick to find religion when we know we facing eviction. Knowing our lights could get cut out any minute. Not the type to be dependent, not to mention needing all for assistance. I barely made enough to even keep some food in the kitchen. 2 mile distance back and forth, working the cashier position. I ain't tripping, dude. I looked at it like physical fitness. This is my life, my story, my pain. I mean my glory. It came so sporadically, automatically changed. My mind brain is different, no longer diligent. The passion is passing, time is flashing with my dreams like a glad with the latest fashion. No longer innocent, and I've been in it since Ice Cube was militant. Guess it was imminent, I had to progress, but accepting that it's over such a hard process, and even harder to digest is knowing you talented and seeing just how low you're making account balances. I knew eventually I paid for mistakes. Now making changes take the place of any mistakes on my plate. From the place where you can meet your fate, think that you're safe. You better know some combinations like you breaking a safe. Lyrically, I'm sick with it. I'm not rapping, I teach. My syllabus is ridiculous. I'm out of your league. Yeah.
Well, what were the challenges for you? There was one obvious challenge for me I found really hard in this track.
Right, so this is the first time I've ever had to deal with a stereo stem of drums. So obviously I didn't have the individual elements. So it was a good challenge, and I knew this day was going to come. But at the end of the day, like, I've got the mixing chops to be able to fucking deal with it. It's still a stereo at the end of the day. You've just got to think, right, I've got the kick, I've got the snare. That's really kind of all it is. You've got a little bit of hi-hats, a little bit of overheads and stuff, but kick and snare, like, how am I going to be able to impact the kick and the snare as a stereo? So what I actually did was I just stuck Imrichelik's kick shaper on it, and I could have used Beat Quaker, but I've not downloaded it yet because that's what he specifically made it for. But I decided to use kick shaper because I know it so well. So it's a tool that I know how it works. So I was trying to get kick shaper to do its magic on the low end and kind of sculpt the kick, just working on the low end, and then also using a little bit of the transient design in it to kind of affect the snare as well. So I was trying to, process it as an entire piece, which I think I did decently. I was all about really trying to get the low end to sit right, because I knew that the low end was going to be really important. So I tried to get the bass to sound close to Marv's, but again, better. And just trying to make it sound tighter, a little bit more cohesive, make the kick a little bit punchy. That was something that I did wrong in the first mix. I sent a mix to Emra. You'll find out about this on the Mixphones channel, where I review the FT1 Pro by Fio. I did the whole mix on that just to see how it translated. And for me, I just kind of felt that the kick wasn't punching enough. So as a part of the mix, it's part of the headphones that, it's got really good translation for £180, but it's not nano level. If I had the nanos, I would have got the low end exactly the way I wanted it. Essentially, all I tried to do was just get Marv's mix and get it as close as I could, and then try and better it. However, I did change one thing. There was a part, and he probably is going to tell me to change it, but I don't know. I just thought, the guitarist in me was saying, Paul, nah, this could work better, because I wanted the breakdown to really kind of come down and kind of be a little bit smaller. So I put a tremolo guitar on that bit. So it's quite good because you'll get to hear it in Ed's and Marv's reference. And you'll get to hear, I made a production decision, and you'll probably tell me to change it and put it back. But a guitarist to guitarist, I just thought I'll make a decision. And then the outro was, I didn't fluke it, but just the way that I kind of the way that I processed everything going into vocal shaper and my vocal chain, and just the way I kind of gain staged everything, I just felt that I got like this energy, and like I had to back it off at first because I was like, whoa, like this outro has a lot of energy. So then I changed my headphones, went to the R70XAs, and then I just redid it, and I was like, yes, that's sitting all better now. So the outro was a little bit difficult because it's quite sparse, and you really only got, you've got your drums, you've got guitar, you've got a Rhodes, and then you've got a bit of backing vocals. That's really it. And then when it gets to the outro, you've got low string, high string, you've got the two violins doing rhythmic elements, You've got a backing vocal that's got to sit over there. You've got to get the high string to have the top end to sit there, the low string to be able to like enhance and make the low end a little bit more cohesive, as well as get that vocal to just like sit
And a
right
loud
in the
piano
middle.
that comes in.
And a loud piano as well, yeah. So that was a challenge, Ed. Was the outro your challenge, or is there someone else that I've missed?
No, the challenge for me was trying to reverse engineer the intro guitar part. And
Right, okay.
I think he's automated it because it seems to be left and then dong, jack, and then the downbeat comes into the middle. At least that's what I was hearing. So I didn't bother with that, but I did put on a pan action tremolo, just using the pan function to kind of emulate that, just to give it my own little flavour. So we'll see if that passes the client test.
I know. I just
not.
did a reverb. I could hear the reverb he was using, so I was trying to reenact the reverb that he had going on. So I had, because I knew he had that guitar on the left, but he still had stuff going on the right. So I could, from my ears, I thought he was panning the reverb right. But I think he had two lots. I think he had one reverb that was like on the main track, but then he had bleed from the reverb going into the right. So maybe it was a stereo verb. And so he had a little bit of that going on, and because he didn't seemed to have as much in the Rhodes. Seemed to be like the reverb was like here, and then it was like the verb would kind of move from left to right a little bit. So I had to use two reverbs, one on the guitar itself. I used the Arturia EMT plate, and then I used my guitar send, and then just like I think I just like set the pan to be like on the right, so it was opposite.
I used the AKG Spring Reverb from UAD and a little bit of delay. All right, so we're going to listen to my mix first, and there's one detail where I actually chose not to honour the rough, controversially. And as you alluded to earlier, there was one main guitar left and the Rhodes was right. But every now and then there was another guitar part coming in on the right.
Oh, the lead one, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I felt like that then meant the mix was a bit lopsided. And also because it's only kick and drums instrumentation-wise consistently all the way through, I felt to give it that mid-range consistency, I wanted to put the Rhodes stereo in the middle. Okay. So then the guitar comes in, and then the guitar each has its space, one left and one right. So that's the only way I didn't honour the rough, but I noticed that you did honour the rough exactly in that regard. So there's one element where you've gone off kilter.
Yeah.
in the break, and there's one element where I've gone off kilter. But this is my mix of My Time from Marv Sowell.
The hardest artist ever to emerge from darkness. Got them reading they thesaurus cause they vocab is garbage. If they ain't talking about nothing, I'ma rip them apart. And I ain't even gotta rap about the clothes and the cars. Tell me how it feel to look at a star like an astrologist. An ego like I'm T.O. but rock like I'm in politics. Here to change the game similar to what Obama did. Making sure you get no bumps like dermatologists. My name's synonymous with dominance. The problem is my name's anonymous. They look at me like I'm a communist. Till I collapse, I refuse to relax. I do my thing with this rap with my claps and shoulder pads for real.
Stop me, the clouds and move. It's my time.
Open mic Friday nights, local bars. I was a star. Twisting up cigars before we got out the car. Tipsy off whiskey sours, spitting freeze for hours. Over the instrumentals like they beats was ours. Wasn't lacking ambition, it's the cash that was missing. Then I moved back out to Memphis right when Dash got convicted. That's how quick it get twisted. Dreams diminished in the instant. What once was in your grasp now distant. Pay attention. Till I collapse, I refuse to relax. I do my thing with this rap with my claps and shoulder pads for real. Yeah. Where my notoriety, you know what I'm saying? It's my
Nothing's
time.
gonna stop me. The clouds are moved. It's my time. No more clouds in my way. No more haters.
No more haters, y'all.
Gotta make it happen. I can see the light, the break of day. I gotta keep on moving.
They weren't staring when I had the LeBaron. Transmission was missing back when I had to tap the starter just to start the ignition. Quick to find religion when we know we facing eviction. Knowing our lives could get cut out any minute. Not the type to be dependent, not to mention aiding off for assistance. I barely made enough to even keep some food in the kitchen. 2 mile distance back and forth, working in cashier position. I ain't tripping, dude. I looked at it like physical fitness. This is my life, my story, my pain. I mean my glory. It came so sporadically, automatically changed. My mind frame is different, no longer diligent. The passion is passing, time is clashing with my dreams. Like a glad with the latest fashion. No longer innocent, and I've been in it since Ice Cube was militant. Guess it was imminent, I had to progress, but accepting that it's over, such a hard process. Ain't even harder to digest. It's knowing you talented, just seeing just how low your banking account balance is. I knew eventually I paid for mistakes. Now big it takes is take the place of any mistakes on my plate. From the place where you can meet your fate, think that you're safe. You better know some combinations like you breaking the safe. Lyrically, I'm sick with it. I'm not rapping, I teach. My syllabus is ridiculous. I'm out of your league. Yeah.
I used Beatquaker on the stereo drum thing, and I basically treated it as if it was a drum bus, top-down mixing, only without access to the individual instruments. And in hindsight, I may have added a little bit too much grit to it. I'm not sure if it's too much grit or too much clipping later on. I'd have to go back in the session. But there's an impact. I think I got the transients in the kick and snare. Other than that, I'm not sure. I think with this one, I just think it sits pretty well. I'm not sure what I would change in hindsight. What about you, Paul?
I wouldn't change much to it, to be honest with you. I think that, well, you'll hear it in mine's next, that I think that my mix is, very, very much like yours. It's just mine sounds like Paul Third and yours sounds like Ed Thorne. I think that your balance is really good. I can tell that, I think the vocals, the way that you've got the vocals to sit in front of the mix sounds different to how I've got the vocals to sit in front of the mix. And I can't really describe exactly what that is. I think yours is, I don't know, it's like, I think what you did really well with this mix is that this one thing Emma says to me when he listened to the first mix I did on the FD1 Pros, he was like, Ed's instrument mix is smoother. And then when I switched to the R70XAs, I was like, yeah. Because the thing with the FD1 Pros is that they're too forgiving in the mids and the highs. It's very, very smooth sounding already. So when I was listening to Marv's and Ed's, I was like, this is a bit dull. I could add a wee bit more Paul Third mid-range into this. When the translation came out, as much as I had all the balance right, in my opinion, and I had the low end dialed and like quite decent and stuff, the imaging was all right. I just felt that when I was listening to other systems, it was maybe a little bit on the harsh-ish. Not even harsh-ish, it was just more mid-rangey. It was like Ed's was very smooth and overall tonally balanced, and mine sounded a little bit NS10-ish, a little bit for me. But when I listened on the R70XAs, I just found that your mix was just like a really good palette cleanser to go, right, that's how that should sound. That's how I'd been listening to stuff on the Hyphamans and on the R70XAs as well. So I think that you did a good job where nothing really sits out in a bad way. I think that instrument-wise, you got really nice tonal balance. I think the vocals are slightly different from the instruments in terms of like a cohesive piece, but not enough where I think that it's any negative things. I don't listen to the vocals and think that there's any sibilance in there that I would take out. I think that compression-wise, you've done a good job. I think low end, you did a good job. I think impact-wise, I think you've done a good job. I think the outro was the only thing for me that I felt that you lacked a little bit, because I feel that what you might hear in mine, and again, this is subjective, is that I feel that I've got this energy in the outro where it just kind of like the vocal all of a sudden becomes spitty and like right there. It's like right there in front, and like everything just kind of all of a sudden comes to life a little bit. I don't know if that was maybe like you maybe needed to change the vocal processing on the outro of the vocal to maybe add a little bit more aggression. I think maybe it could have done with a little bit like maybe parallel compression or just a bit of spit in there, because I think the vocal worked perfect for the rest of the mix. That was the only thing when I listened to the intro that I think I possibly did better, but better subjective. But I'd say like all the way up into the intro, well, mate, like our mixes I think are very, very close. It's just
the
that
outro.
Sorry, yeah, the
All the way
outro,
up to
sorry.
the intro.
Yeah.
They're great.
That was sung, mate. That was sung. But yeah, in terms of like all the way up to the outro, I think mine and yours are very, very similar. Again, the way you've got the lead guitar, sometimes, because I did it differently, it seems like your lead guitar is kind of a little bit on the right side for me. It's like it's a little bit off kilter, a little bit, but it doesn't really get in the way of the vocal, which is good. And it sounds a little bit thinner. The lead guitar sounds a little bit thinner than Marv's, and I kind of added a little bit more, kind of maybe I can't remember, was it 120 or whatever the fundamental was. I added a little bit more fundamental to kind of make it a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I think it was 120. Yeah. Marv is his strength is mixing guitars. He's really good at that, and I've been asking him questions like, how do you do that? I can't do it.
Yeah.
Need him to teach me a few things.
But even in the outro, your balance is still, everything's there. I think what you achieved was a really nice balance overall. I just think it was just energy really in the outro, and that's really it, in my opinion. I think you honoured the riff really well. I don't think the lead guitar is going to bother him that much, because in my opinion the lead guitar is too loud in his mix and it gets in the way of the vocal. I think the guitars in general get in the way of the vocal quite a lot, where you need the vocal to be up in front because it's telling a story. You know what I mean? That's like what you're listening to. So honestly, I think everybody's going to listen to my mix and they're just going to hear the same mix with just a Paul third slant on it. Very, very similar. So let's get to my mix and let's see what we think.
To emerge from darkness. Got them reading they thesaurus cause they vocab is garbage. If they ain't talking about nothing, I'ma rip them apart. And I ain't even gotta rap about the clothes and the cars. Tell me how it feel to look at a star like an astrologist. An ego like I'm T.O. but rock like I'm in politics. Here to change the game similar to what Obama did. Making sure you get no bumps like dermatologists. My name's anonymous with dominance. The problem is my name's anonymous. They look at me like I'm a communist. Till I collapse, I refuse to relax. I do my thing with this rap with my claps and shoulder pads for real.
Stop me. The clouds are moved. It's my time.
Open mic Friday nights, local bars, I was a star. Twisting up cigars before we got out the car. Tipsy off whiskey sours, spitting freeze for hours. Over them instrumentals like they beats was ours. Wasn't lacking ambition, it's the cash that was missing. Then I moved back out to Memphis right when Dash got convicted. That's how quick it get twisted. Dreams diminished in an instant. What once was in your grasp now distant. Pay attention. Till I collapse, I refuse to relax. I do my thing with this rap with my claps and shoulder pads for real. Yeah. Where my notoriety, you know what I'm saying?
Nothing's gonna stop me. The clouds are moved. It's my time. No more clouds in my way. No more haters.
No more haters,
Gotta make it happen.
just to start the ignition. Quick to find religion when we know we facing eviction. Knowing our lights could get cut out any minute. Not the type to be dependent, not to mention aiding off for assistance. Barely made enough to even keep some food in the kitchen. 2 mile distance back and forth, working the cashier position. I ain't tripping, dude, I looked at it like physical fitness. This is my life, my story, my pain. I mean my glory, it came so sporadically, automatically changed. My mind frame is different, no longer diligent. The passion is passing, time is clashing with my dreams like it's planned with the latest fashion. No longer innocent, and I've been in it since Ice Cube was militant. Guess it was imminent, I had to progress, but accepting that it's over, such a hard process, and even harder to digest. It's knowing you talented, to seeing just how low your banking account balance is. I knew eventually I paid for mistakes. Now big and tasties take the place of anger steaks on my plate. From the place where you can meet your fate, think that you're safe. You better know some combinations like you breaking a safe. Lyrically, I'm sick with it. I'm not rapping, I teach. My syllabus is ridiculous. I'm out of your league. Yeah.
All right, that was Paul's mix of Marv's My Time. I mean, I like what you did in the intro. It's different to what I did, and it's slightly different to what Marv's done, but it works in its own right, I think, very well. It's very, very much a guitarist's sound.
Yeah.
Again, balance throughout is great. Tonal balance, I think, is great. It was definitely worth going back to the R70s or whatever they are.
Yeah, R70Xs, yeah.
Over the other headphones, because I don't know what you did since, but it definitely brought this mix closer to mine. Not that
100%.
I'm saying mine was right, but it seemed to be more right for the track.
No, I agree. Yours was, and I think that shows you the perspective, and that's why I like about mixing other headphones. I wouldn't do it if it was a paid client. If this was a paid Marv gig, I wouldn't have done it. Because it's for the podcast, I took a punt, but this is what happens when you mix on very forgiving headphones. Sennheisers are like that. Sennheisers are very, like the 600, 650s
but also a medium you don't know as well.
I know.
Which was risky. But it's all right, because you fixed it, it's fine. What you did great, and this is what I didn't do at all. I didn't do any master bus automation. Often with these things, I would maybe automate. I don't ever go a dB now. It's always like 0.8, but that's because Pro Tools is just annoying and just picks random.
Stop mixing Pro Tools.
Depending on how far you zoom. It's tempting to go to Studio One, trust me. But often I would do that, and then I would play with the God particle percentage and play with stereo thing in Ozone. The width thing in Ozone, just a little bit, or if not that, in Master Plan, just a little bit. But I didn't do any of that because I felt like the orchestration was kind of doing that for me.
No, it did. I agree with you.
So if that was a comment from Marv, I want a bit more dynamic contrast between sections. I can go in and do that pretty quickly, and that's a pretty simple fix. What you did well in the breakdown was suck everything in.
Yeah, that's what I tried to go for.
Use that to create contrast, which is why your outro grows and just blossoms and flourishes really well. I noticed Marv used quite a bit of automation in his mix, and if you look at the peaks, like there's a clear jump of several decibels into that outro bit, either from automation or the accumulation of the extra instruments. So you did that well, and that concept of bringing everything down and drier to then make it sound bigger, that's a great way to get a contrast.
Yeah, and I was really happy with that, and it was funny because I noticed that when I was looking at the waveform, the outro vocal is way louder than the rest, and I don't know if that was a thing where that was intentionally done, where he's processed it or whatever he's done. But I think what had happened was because that was louder and I hadn't changed anything, it hit my vocal chain a lot hotter, which meant that I was pushing into the vocal chain more. So it compressed it a little bit more, but I think was adding a little bit more distortion because I would have been going in to, because I've got the Tim Petherick's clipper on his stay level, and normally I have it where it's just doing a little bit. But I think because I was pushing into it, and I just got to the outro and I was like, whoa, I like this. And then when I listened back on the R70XAs, I was like, okay, I just need to calm it all down. And see, on the R70XAs, because they're not forgiving, what that shown me was, right, okay, the violin bits that are quite dynamic, right, like there was something in the mid-range from 1 to 2K. When I was listening to your mix and my mix, I was like, that's popping out to me as quite, like, I don't really like it, it's quite grainy sounding.
Yeah, I think I had 2 instances of D-Res and Soothe on that.
Did you?
And I
Yeah.
auditioned having all three, two of them, and then one of them in combinations of.
Yeah, on that mix you've just heard, that was at least 4 instances of added soothe, and that's what I like about stuff like
Four
hyphens.
instances of soothe.
Not on the same track, like on different things. Then just going nuts. Just stick it, bro. Just stick it.
That would have a sound.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, but yeah, I think I did it on the verse guitar. I did it on the 2 violins, and I did it on someone else as well. But yeah, I was just hearing the kind of bits of harshness that I needed to tame down. Some things that I could maybe add a little bit more compression to, and then I think I added in a little bit of Dynawide on a few things. So on the piano, I added Dynawide to that to get it to sit out a little bit more in the mix. And then
Nice.
and then on the violins, what I did was I had low was like narrow, high was wide, and I think what it allowed me to do was allow the dynamics of those violins to come in, but not kind of sit on top of each other. When I had them panned wide left and right, they just sat on top of each other, and they kind of sounded a little bit like they'd get too much.
Yeah, and one of the guitar parts was duplicating rhythmically and arpeggio-wise what they were doing, and then it stuck out a bit too much, but you wanted the guitar to be heard. So, yeah, I think I panned accordingly to accommodate for that, but yeah.
Yeah, on that guitar part, the one thing I was surprised you didn't do, and it was something that I felt was really needed, was see on the guitar picking part in the outro, I added a delay onto that, and it's doing quite a lot of delay. But what it does is it allows it to just kind of add a little bit of depth in there, and I used a bit of auto pan on it, so the picking kind of goes like from kind of left to right, because I kind of felt like in Marv's it was quite noticeable, where I kind of sometimes I like to use auto pan like that if it's an important part, but you can just dot it left to right, where it's like giving you the impression of what it's doing, and then the delay is just kind of like adding a bit of depth to it, and I just thought that kind of worked quite well. That's what I heard in yours. I thought maybe that picked guitar maybe could have had a bit of effects on it, and that was about it. But
If you don't have an in-house mastering engineer like we're fortunate enough to have with Marcel at Act2 Make with the Working Audio Tools, DistroKid have you covered. For just $99 a year, you can buy unlimited mastering for all of your tracks in tandem with unlimited releases via DistroKid. Mixea from DistroKid uses AI technology to measure the EQ and the dynamics of your track and then present you with numerous options to tweak and customize your master. You can flip between the original and the generic mastered option.
Blame it on the whiskey. Blame it on the bad weed.
So instantly we can hear that's making the track louder, and it's also slightly flattening the EQ, bringing in a little bit more of the mid-range and of course the top end. We can adjust the intensity, which is how much compression and limiting is being applied to the track.
Blame it on the only thing you've ever seen. Run and tell your mother. Blame it on your brother.
I think somewhere in the middle works for this track. And the EQ options are self-explanatory. We can make the track effectively duller or brighter.
Just ain't right. All you do is lie. All you do is try to deny. All you do is lie. Even when you know it just ain't right. All you do is lie.
Download your mastered track and release it as easily as you do all of your other unlimited uploads. Get 30% off your DistroKid subscription using the Working Audio Tools VIP link below.
I think hopefully what you can tell in both mixes is that I think vocal-wise, I think me and Ed did a good job in the vocals. I think one thing that I thought I did quite well was, I think maybe I did it better than Marv a little bit, was that his female vocal, there was quite a bit of contrast in there, right? Maybe thought his female vocal was a little bit thin, and he had like his main rap vocal, you know, like probably correct, where I tried to add a little bit more, keep a little bit more warmth and lows in the female vocal, just to kind of keep them all kind of in keeping. Remember, this is, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, but One of my favourite mixes of all time, I don't know why, is it's a Spice Girls track, right? And Spike Stent mixed it. And we were in LA, and it's still, I get a fucking fear thinking about it. We were in Just for the Record in LA. We've got this big PMC set up, and it's like, this sounds amazing. Ed sticks on Back in Black. It's like, yeah, it sounds great. And then I'm just sitting there going, Spike Stent, because see, if I know what it is, it's because I knew Spike Stent was in his analog phase, and he just does something where he got everything to sit, and it's remarkable for a 90s analog mix. The depth he achieved, the width, everything's got the separation. It sounds amazing on headphones. So me, in all of my wisdom, I decided to go, let's put on the Spice Girls. Put on the Spice Girls. But one thing, because we had one of Ed's friends was really gracious, and he drove us about LA.
Josh Jones was there. Yeah, and we also had Matt Holomew, who works at Just for the Record, and I think the owner was in there.
He was, yeah.
At that, maybe not in the room, but very lovely people.
Oh, Josh is a diamond guy. A lot of time for him. But one thing I remember, just when we were saying that about the vocals, was you went, you know what, one thing I'll give Spike Stent is due there, was that obviously with the Spice Girls, you've got 4 of them. And it's true, Spike did it. He manages to get all 4 of those vocals to sit almost in the same register tonally. Where if you actually listen, it's called Too Much by the Spice Girls. And like all of, why am I recommending Spice Girls songs?
Impression?
What? I'm not going to.
Can you pretend to be Ginger Spice?
I am.
Which one am I? Comment below.
Fucking Ginger Spice too. You got 2 Ginger Spice. No, you're definitely Posh Spice. You're definitely
I knew
Posh
you'd go
Spice.
for that. Well, I'm not shabby, so I'm not Sporty Spice.
Yeah, you're Posh Spice. Yeah.
I'll go with Baby Spice.
Fuck off, Posh Spice.
She's, the cute blonde hair one.
So either way, as I was saying, the whole point of it, like that when I listen back to it, and he's absolutely right, is that what Spike did was Spike managed to get all the vocals to kind of still sit in the same kind of tonal register, where they managed to sit and do their own thing, but when they come in and out, it just kind of sounds like this cohesive, glued piece.
Yeah.
And that's remarkable. And that was something I tried to kind of get with this. It's difficult because this male rap vocal is very different from this female singing vocal. So I tried to do whatever I could to try and get them averagely. I didn't do it perfect, but that's what I was aiming for, which I think I did. I thought I did a decent job at that.
I had the same thought, bringing cohesion to both of them. And I think we both did a good job. My trick for that was a parallel band passed, I think, from like 200 to like 600-700. And then squashed, as I do my parallels with the Fairchild. And then basically that creating the warmth. So rather than kind of muffling up the main vocal, put in the parallel in to create the warmth and the chesty sound and the timbre.
Did you do a parallel on the drums? I added my parallel on the drums. I did the Model 5000 thing, and that's what I did. Did you use parallels?
I don't think I did.
Really? That's surprising, because it's a stereo drum, you've not got much to go on. So I was definitely sure you would have used a parallel on that.
Beat Quaker, Kick Shaper, Pro Q3 into the Pandora multi-band compressor. Really not doing much, but just trying to create a bit of energy.
Yeah, I still went through my normal drum bus chain. So I still went into Dyne 1, which is doing the multi-band compression, which is probably what you're doing with your Hyperion. And then I had Crafter by Sound Theory doing the multi-band clipping, which I do on every one. Honestly, since I've used that on my drum bus, that's like the one for drum clipping.
You're using that for clipping? No, I went into flatline, and then I had bass
right.
going into flatline, and then drum and bass going into a drum and bass bus into flatline, and then instruments into flatline. I think I even did vocals into flatline on this.
No, what I'm surprised that you didn't utilise Crafter in this mix, because in my head the reason that Crafter was like an absolute like a no-brainer for me was because I didn't have the control of the individual elements. So being able to clip the kick, the mids and the tops individually in my head was like, right, so there's me clipping my kick, there's me clipping my snare, and there's me like kind of, bringing down the hats and stuff like that. And that was really, really...
Yeah, arguably that would have been a better way around of doing it. But I didn't think of that. I'll tell you what I also did. I also put the whole mix through the Rupert Neve 542s.
Because Marv did. Is that because Marv said he wanted to sound a bit like tape? That's what he said to me anyway.
Oh, right. No, he didn't say that to me.
Right, okay.
But no, I just thought it needed some girthiness, and there was room to just take the edge off a few transients.
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing I'd change in hindsight is slightly back off the clipping that has affected the kick, and maybe just dip that kick impact frequency just maybe half a dB, and then maybe raise the bass a third or a half a dB.
No, I'd completely disagree. I think that your bass is at the max level that it should be at. My bass is just a little bit, maybe half a dB quieter than yours. And
Well, maybe it's an EQ thing then, because you got a slightly, maybe a deeper foundation out of it.
the bass or the kick?
Yeah.
The bass was just all bass shaper. Honestly, I didn't even do double tap because the bass was already compressed on the way in and it wasn't working right. Made it smaller. Honestly, bass shaper, that was it. And I just sat there. I think I added quite a lot of low end in bass shaper, and then I used a little bit because it's all as a saturation EQ. So I don't know if it's like kind of Spectre, but I used a little bit of the high, just enough. And then again, I was just manipulating the attack and the sustain just to get it right. A little bit of D-mud, a little bit, not a lot of D-boom, because the first mix I did, the way I had the EQ for the feels was that it was too much bass sustain. Then I swapped out for another EQ, and then it worked a lot better. But on this one, I think that the bass was actually quite well recorded, and it didn't. You get some basses that are just like the bass sustain is out of fucking control. You need a lot of D-boom, so just a touch of D-boom just to set it right. But for me, I think that the only thing I would say with your kick, and this is something that Emra had said to me, but he was like, and he was right, and it was only till he said it that I got it. He said, the only thing I disagree with in the mixes, Paul, is that the two of you have made the same. He said mistake. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a mistake because what we were given is what we were given. But he said that the kick sounds like an acoustic kick. He went, I would have done whatever I could do to make that sound more like a hip hop kick.
Yeah, he said that to me as well. That was his one feedback. I've nicknamed Emra the Assassin because his feedback is punishingly brutal. I should nickname him the Punisher. Intended with love, Emra. I'd take that on board from a genre stylistic specific comment and approach, but I felt like what we were given, it sounded like live drums to me. So I was like, I'm going to embrace that. And if they wanted an 808 or a traditional programmed hip hop or sample hip hop sound, they'd have given that. So I embraced the live kit sound.
Do you not think if you would have had them separate though, you would have added a little bit more click to the kick? If you would have had them separated, you would have probably made the kick a little bit more clickier.
I dread to think what direction I'd have taken the kit if I had individual stems. And in hindsight, I'm actually glad I didn't, because I like what I came out with as it was. Maybe more click, but then you're affecting the snare upper frequencies and the hi-hats, and had to be careful with that.
Yeah, because what I found was that for me to get that clickier, poppier kick, to kind of punch a little bit more, it was utilising the punch more in kick shaper, and punch is basically a compressor. I don't even know how he's got it set, but I added a little bit more of the attack to it. So the way he's got it like punch, and then he's got click. Yeah, punch and click. So punch is the attack of the low end, and click is the attack of the high end. That's why I thought kick shaper would work really well on this drum beat, because thump was the attack of the low end. I was almost like being able to kind of like have the kick and the snare and kind of change the levels a little bit. So thump was basically setting that up till I got the right kind of hit of the kick. And then, the click was just kind of almost like the snare. I had a little bit more tap to the snare. And then when I just kind of added a little bit more compression to it, I just made it a little bit snappier, which then, because obviously the kick is always going to react to the compressor the most, I think that just kind of made the kick a little bit more where what me and you both, what you have and what I had originally was the kick's very like doof, 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 doof. But I was in that mix that you've listened to, I've tried to make it a bit more like doof, 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 doof. But it's not bad at the end of the day. Like, I honestly, I listened to my first mix with the kick and I listened to your mix. Yeah, I use a little bit too much of the tail. It's a little bit more, it was maybe a bit too much resonance in the first mix, but this is more correct. But yeah, I still think you've got a good amount of punch on the kick. It's not woofy. It's not like, completely anemic. The low end level is correct, in my opinion. But yeah, like, do you not love that this is what we do, Ed? Like, we're at a level now where nobody would give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, what we are kind of like talking these minute details and stuff. They don't make
find
or break
out when
the
we
song.
speak to the potential client next week.
I know, yeah.
The idea for next week is basically we will have done a revision from Marv, and then we're going to discuss on the podcast, the revision process, what Marv wanted. He's going to comment on what we did and how we met his preferences and needs eventually. He might come back and say, I don't need to do any revisions. I doubt it, because I know from personal experience, getting other people to mix your songs, it's interesting. It's difficult to get into that vision. So there will be a revision. I've suggested we keep it to just one to kind of keep things flowing in the episode, but that's what we'll be discussing. So it should be an insightful episode as to what it's actually like working with clients.
And know what's going to be really interesting, I've just thought about this, is that Marv is still going to have to kind of work in our lane a little bit, because at the end of the day, if he turns around to me and says, I need you to sound like Ed, I'll be like, well, there's no point me doing the revision then, because I'm not Ed Thorne. And the same if he says that to you. I can take elements of certain things, but if I feel like he's trying to be like, look, Ed's didn't need any revisions whatsoever, that's the perfect mix, I'd be like, well, there's no point in me doing it then. I'd just be like, bow out and just go, right, that'd probably be me. But then I think what you'll do is you'll give you feedback on yours, me feedback on mine, and I think what will happen is I'll do a revisioned mix, you'll do a revisioned mix, and then two of them will be to his liking, and the two of them will still sound different, and that'll be fascinating.
But I think they're so close now.
No, I agree. No, I would say that, yeah.
We are really into tiny little changes in terms of whatever Marv's taste is going to be. So I think this is going to be a fascinating episode.
I do, yeah. The more I think about it, it's a great idea. Well done, Ed. Good job. Good idea.
Cheers. I would like to say, though, before we sign off, just for the audience to kind of update them, I am now pretty much mixing 60 to 70% on headphones. And this was the Ananda Nanos and the MX4s with real phones that Paul's set me up with some great curves on. And just other mixes I'm doing, they're translating quicker, they're coming together better and quicker. And then I go to listening to speakers in my room. I still trust the Amphions for the upper mid-range, but I just can't trust this room for low end. And mixing on the headphones is just, when I go to the speakers, I'm like, how the fuck did I do this before? Oh wait, I didn't. I got it wrong every time. So there might be a controversial video coming on that, but we'll see.
And by the way, for anybody looking to get some of the curves for headphone EQs, if you want, I've got my own Discord. If you decide to become a channel member of this YouTube channel or my own YouTube channel, or again, join my Patreon, but I would rather you did it on this channel, you will get access to the Discord. My wife, I love my wife, she said to me, you should call it Only Curves. I was like, Laura, there's so many ways. There's so many ways that we could take this, hun. Like, Paul Third started in Only Curves. I'm like, Jesus.
Well, I've got one called Only Vans. It's just full of transits.
And you've got Thorne Hub as well.
Oh yeah, Thorne Hub as well is a thing.
So if you want lots of info about mixing on headphones, yes, there's Only Curves on the Discord. So yeah, there we'll have it. Yeah. Again, leave your comments down below. Let us know your feedback. I know you will, as always. And as always, please let us know what you're listening on if you are leaving feedback as well, as always. So yeah, there you have it. My name is Paul Third. That's Ed Thorne. And we'll see you again next week.
It's been emotional.